please tell us a little bit about the San Juan Islands?
Well, the islands are rather unique. We're at the very northwest corner of the state of Washington. We are only served, being an island, we're only served by ferries, boats, and airplanes. And to San Juan Island is roughly about an hour and a half ferry ride from Anacortes, Washington, on the mainland.
Okay.
We have 4 islands that are served by the ferry of varying sizes, and those are Lopez, Orcas, Shaw, and San Juan Island. And there's an additional 250-odd islands that are not served by the ferries, that you have to get to by private airplane or by private boat.
Okay.
We have about 16 to 17,000 people living in the county, and that is roughly about 2,500 on Lopez, a little over 5,000 on Orcas, and about 8,000 on San Juan Island. The balance are made up of the outer islands.
So when people are thinking about moving up to the islands or living there part-time or full-time, where do you recommend people start to decide on which island to go to or live on?
My normal suggestion is if they have the time and they can do it, if they can take like a 3-week vacation and come up and spend perhaps up to a week on Lopez, another week on Orcas, and the balance of the time on San Juan Island. And those are the 3 main principal islands that are populated. Shaw, even though it's served by the ferry, only has about 250 people on it. It has one very, very small grocery store, which would make a 7-Eleven look like a big supermarket, and no gas stations. But it's kind of like a step back in time. It's a beautiful island, nice people, but it's one that vast majority of the people that are considering moving up here.
So do about 3 weeks, one for each of the main islands. But if you're talking about outer islands or Shaw, it's kind of a different thing.
Yeah, most of the people that maybe want the outer islands or something like Shaw are boaters that have been familiar with the outer islands, have spent time up here, summers up here, and know the hardships. Some of the islands don't have electrical power to them, so it's not exactly living in a tent, but it's different than living in a big city.
What's it like actually living on one of these main islands that is served by the ferries? Is it for everyone to live on an island?
I would say no. I think the pace of life is somewhat slower. On San Juan Island, where our office is located, we're the county seat, and we have the only incorporated township in the county. We don't have a single stoplight in the entire county. Our maximum speed limit in the county is 45 miles an hour, and that's on actually few of the roads. Most of it's slower than that. So it's a different pace. I think a lot of people fall in love with it. It's kind of like what you think of in Hawaii. It's that aloha spirit. It's a different way of life. It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody.
Most of the people who are thinking about buying or living up in the islands, why exactly do they end up loving it and staying there?
I think most of them like the outdoors. We have kayaking, we have crabbing, we have fishing, we have sailing, we have golf on the islands. They're the 3 main bigger islands. Each have a small 9-hole golf course, which is good and challenging. A lot of people play tennis. The summers are absolutely beautiful up here. Weather-wise, basically year-round. We're in a rain shadow, so we get about half the rainfall that typically falls in Seattle. Our average rainfall on San Juan Island is anywhere from 20 to 27 inches, and Seattle gets around, I believe, up to 45, 47 inches of rain. So weather-wise, climate, it's just ideal. Summers are in the 70 to 80 degree range. A few times during the summer we'll get up maybe into the 90s.
What about people who are concerned about the health care? Are there any large hospitals, or what do people do? They have to take the ferry off island?
Well, the three major islands have medical clinics on them, and I can really kind of mainly speak just for San Juan Island. It is construed as a hospital district, even though it is not a hospital, but we have several doctors that are on duty all the time, and there's always at least one doctor on call with nurses. And for specialty practices, we have visiting doctors that come out once a month or once every other month to serve the people that need the specialty type of things. For something like chemotherapy or that nature,
okay,
you are going to have to go off the island. But we do have an air ambulance insurance service that I can't remember the exact cost, but it's under $100 a year per family, and that provides for air transportation, whether it be fixed wing or helicopter, flying you off in the event of an emergency.
In terms of the real estate market there, the fluctuations and the safety of the market, how would you compare it, or what makes it unique to other markets in the Washington State or second home buyers market?
Well, I think our market has remained and continues to remain stable. We're like everybody else. We're probably now in what you would call a buyer's market, and things have slowed down. And I was actually just pulling up some figures comparing the first 3 months so far of this year to last year. And for our total number of sales, we're down about 25%, and that's just on San Juan Island. But interestingly enough, our average sale price and our median sale price are both up from what they were the prior year at the same time period. And then comparing the last 6 months, so that would be going into October, November, and December of '07 to the same time period a year previously. Again, we are down in the number of sales, but our median and average sale price has still continued to increase. So we remain, I think, a very viable, very stable market.
Okay. And you'd compare that to other resort-style communities around the country?
I would say probably by and large, but we may not have the ups and the downs that some other areas have. I know I moved up from Carmel back in the late 80s and early 90s, and they had a huge increase in the 80s, and then they had a real downturn in the early 90s, and that's kind of a resort area. The same thing up here. We didn't have the downturn. We just had a flattening of the pricing.